Even Taylor Swift is not immune to the
drug that is situationship.
The drug, exactly. Why is it so addicting?
It goes from cosmic love to down bad crying at the gym. It's not a relationship.
It's not a relationship.
But it's not nothing. Clearly there is something that pulls people towards this concept of being in between.
Our attachment style really plays into how we could either leave or stay in a situationship.
Hello.
Cozy side.
No, we're supposed to do jammy time. We're supposed to do it. It's tea time.
It's jammy time.
It's cozy side time. Holy crap. No, I don't want it to get better. I want it to suck. We want to talk about all kinds of things psych-related, but in a way that's fun and comforting.
And above all, cozy. Yeah, so if you guys like listening to two therapists in training talking about like everyday fun topics through the lens of our graduate education, or very expensive graduate education, then feel free to
like and subscribe
and join us as we continue along this journey. We'd really appreciate it. And having you in our little cozy psych.
Ring that notification bell so you don't miss a single cozy psych episode.
All right, now getting into the video. So today we kind of wanted to talk about
our favorite Lord and Savior,
Miss Taylor Allison Swift.
There's
Miss Taylor Swift, we love you. So
the difference between a fanatic and just your average Tay fan.
So we are both fans, but today we wanted to talk about why even Taylor Swift is not immune to the
drug that is situationship.
The drug, exactly. The drug that is situationship.
It is a drug.
So why is it so addicting? Why can it be so addicting?
Yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk a little bit about situationships for those of you maybe boomers out there. Maybe one of you's a boomer. Maybe you don't know what a situationship is. We'll talk about that and what makes it so addicting. And this is so important because I feel like it's such a trend nowadays, and it's become, I feel like it's just become so popularized, and even Taylor Swift is singing about it, and she's sharing her experience as being in a situationship.
Yes.
And lots of people can relate to that.
Exactly. So many of her actually her songs are about situationships or uncertain love. And I think what got us talking about this particular topic is obviously the Tortured Poets Department as pretty recently came out, and there's she has a song that I feel like captures what the aftermath of a situationship can be, which is called Down Bad. Shall we play?
Yeah, she's down bad for situationships, it seems.
She's down bad for situationships.
Now I'm down bad, crying at the gym. Everything comes out teenage petulance. Fuck it if I can't have him.
2 out of 10 twerk rating.
It's a 10 out of 10. What are you talking about? All right, so that's the song for, if you know, so we're all on the same page here. Now, so this is like, we're dissecting the lyrics here.
Okay,
so
just a bit of context. I am not as familiar with it as Celina is. So for a lot of you out there who are not as familiar with Taylor Swift's new album, that's totally fine. You're still welcome here. We'll talk about it in depth so we can understand, even for people who don't really know much about it.
Yes.
So essentially, Down Bad is talking about Matty Healy.
Yes, it's talking about Matty Healy. Well, allegedly, of course, we never really know. So we can only assume. We can only assume.
I'm calling it.
But let's get into the lyrics. Okay, so
what does she say, Celina?
Is, did you really beam me up in a cloud of sparkling dust, just to do experiments on? Tell me I was a chosen one. Show me that this world is bigger than us, then sent me back where I came from. For a moment, I knew cosmic love. And it goes into the chorus. Now I'm down bad, crying at the gym. Everything comes out teenage petulance. What if I can't have him? I might just die. It would make no difference. What do you notice there?
I see the teenage petulance
You
coming
see
out.
the teenage petulance and the high highs and the low lows, right?
Yeah, so it doesn't sound very stable now, does it?
doesn't sound
Goes
very
from
stable.
cosmic love to down bad crying at the gym.
Exactly. Now, what is a situationship in the first place, right? Like, so
Okay.
Google.
So let's search what a situationship is, because I'll be honest, I hear about it a lot, but I don't exactly know what it is.
just so we can operationally define.
Well, gotta make sure it's we cite our resources, guys.
This is Google.
What does
From
Google
Oxford
say?
Languages.
Thank you, Oxford Languages.
Situationship is defined as a romantic or sexual relationship that is not considered to be formal or established. So yes,
So it's not a relationship.
It's not a relationship,
But it's not
yet.
nothing.
Exactly.
So it's in between.
yeah, it's the what are we?
So it's confusing.
it's so confusing.
And that's exactly what we love.
Exactly. So we were kind of wondering about this, right, babe? Like, what makes a situationship so addicting?
Yeah.
And what did you remember again? What did you?
Okay, so what do we mean by it's addicting? Okay, clearly there is something that pulls people towards this concept of being in between. There's no label. It's not stable, as Oxford said. There's no label. It's not stable either. But there's something that still pulls people into it. They love that feeling of tension. There is a sense of tension. And
Butterflies.
there is that sense of butterflies. And coming from a stable relationship, and I think we both know, when you're in a stable relationship, it doesn't have that electric zing.
Exactly.
Right? Because there is no up, there is no down. There is simply the middle. And there is something about the up and down that just that pulls people. And what is it that makes it so addicting? Well, I actually just remembered, I was talking to Celina about it earlier. I remembered there was this class we took in undergrad, and they talked about how there are types of people who experience love growing up, and it reflects in how they pursue love in adulthood. So for example, for people who never experience love at a young age, when they're older, it makes them less inclined to look for it. They don't really care about it because they've never experienced it in the first place, and it wasn't really part of their upbringing.
Yeah.
So for people who experience secure and stable love, to them, love is just a given. It's not something they have to search for. It's not something they desire. While people who experience some moments of love, some moments of loneliness, or just a general mix of instability, I think that's the right word, that makes them look for love more than these other two people who, one, have experienced stable love and who have not experienced love in the first place, because to them, they know what it feels like to feel love, to feel security, but not really secure the same way that the other person experienced it. That's why they have to look for it. They have to find it, unlike the other two people.
Yeah.
And I think that really manifests in a situationship. It is the feeling of feeling cosmic love, or being down bad in the gym, crying alone.
So you're saying, Bells, right? So like our attachment style really plays into how we could either
Pursue
leave
love.
or stay in a situationship should the opportunity present itself. What kind of love are you attracted to, or what grips you in?
Is familiar to you.
Yes, exactly. The key word is familiar, because right, if you guys are familiar with attachment styles, right, a secure attachment style is typically a child. It comes from it's formed in early childhood, based on our earliest experiences of receiving care from our primary caregivers. So it's someone who is who has secure attachment.
Their needs are essentially fulfilled when it comes to love.
Very consistently and usually quite warmly. So they, for example, they receive basically like food, shelter,
food,
and
attention.
affirmation and touch in a loving way. But for children who didn't receive it consistently, like maybe they were more neglected, or maybe
Their parents were busy, maybe, right?
Busy.
Didn't have much time,
Yeah.
and they would leave them to nannies, unfortunately, who maybe didn't care as much about them, right? As much as they would have had from their parents themselves. So that could lead to feelings of neglect.
Yeah. And so, these types of people, and for example, if a parent comes home after being neglected, you're not totally neglected, but then when they finally come home, your primary caregiver finally comes home, all of these like neurotransmitters that give the feeling of love and reward and excitement,
Hormones.
they come rushing in. And it sets a tone for what we kind of seek in adult relationships.
Yeah.
So that's what you were saying, right,
Yeah.
Pals?
So what we were brought up to see, right, is what we're familiar with, because familiar is comfort.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you're kind of insecurely attached and that's what you're receiving, it's probably what you'll seek out, because it's familiar.
So-
the highs and the lows, the inconsistency.
So essentially Matty Healy's in the world out there will be a drug for people who are familiar
Yes.
with that feeling of highs and lows.
So that's one factor, our attachment. And that's usually, it's kind of predetermined from childhood, but you can change it, especially when you encounter someone very secure, someone who gives you consistent care and love.
Yeah.
You kind of come to expect
Okay.
love. That's
Yeah.
the stable, healthy love that we are in right now.
Exactly.
So thank goodness.
So-
but there's another factor
Yeah.
though, right?
I guess just to go back to what you said. So what you mean is that even if you were trained in a certain way of attachment, you're still capable. As a human, you have agency to learn and grow despite your upbringing. So you can pick up different models of attachment from other people who have healthier attachment styles. And so that's essentially what Celina is saying. You're not stuck to your past.
Yes.
You're capable of growth.
Definitely.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
but then I think other than that, there are also other ways of
Why other explanations. There are other explanations as to why we kind of feel the high. That's also
Yeah.
somewhat related to the attachment
Yeah.
styles, and I think is maybe like an underlying mechanism there.
more of a behaviorist
Yeah,
view.
from the behaviorist perspective.
It's like when you train dogs, for example, right? So you're training. Yeah.
Like very dependent on principles of conditioning and
Yeah.
receiving reinforcements
Yeah.
or like rewards or punishments. Like reward something. A reinforcement is something that
it's a reward.
increases the likelihood basically
Yeah.
of that something will
Yeah.
be repeated again.
So like when you're training your puppy to learn how to sit, when he sits, you give him a kibble, right? So that is a reinforcement.
Yes.
You reinforce that behavior, essentially.
Yeah. So there was this one study, and it goes back to this guy. So hang in there. Like
We're
John
getting-
Watson, it's like basically the pioneer, one of the pioneers of
Behaviorism.
He did this like famous experiment, right? With rats, where he determined different types of reinforcement schedules and how it would affect a rat's behavior. So, right, what they found is if you give a rat food or a pellet consistent time, in a consistent amount, the rat doesn't press the lever or look for the food excessively because it trusts that it's going to arrive.
It's just there, so there's no need to fear that to fear it won't be there. So
It doesn't try to look for the
Yeah.
food or demand the food more than usual. It won't
Yeah.
try to press the lever more than usual.
because there's no fear involved, there is a sense of security knowing that the food will always be there whenever he needs it, essentially.
Exactly. But then they found that another type of reinforcement, which is like intermittent reinforcement, is if the rat doesn't know when exactly
The food will come.
food will come, even if it signals for the food
By pressing the
by pressing
lever.
this lever in the experiment,
Yeah.
then it kind of goes like frantically trying to look for the food, frantically trying to press the lever that will give the food.
Because sometimes he presses the lever, and food doesn't come. Sometimes he presses the lever, it will come. So there's a sense of uncertainty. You can't control when the food will come, but you can control it by pressing it enough times.
And when it finally comes, because you don't expect it, and it's this roller coaster of wondering when it's going to come. When it finally does come,
there's a sense of joy.
There's like literally a higher, more intense dopamine hit.
Yeah.
Dopamine is like the neurotransmitter that helps us feel like rewarded and excited for something.
So it becomes an addiction.
Yeah. And
it's a jackpot. Yeah. Essentially.
Exactly.
It's like doing those things in a casino, those things.
That's why they're so addicting. Those slot machines, gambling in general.
Is that what it is?
Because
we don't know if we will win, but the thought of winning, despite all of the odds going against us, makes it feel even better when we do win.
Yeah. So like bringing it back to situationships and like back to Taylor Swift's song, why it feels so, the highs are high, the lows are low. Because the lows are low, the highs are even higher.
Exactly. It feels sweeter. Because you know that
for a moment
it's
you knew
not
cosmic love. Even Taylor Swift is not immune
that's
to this, to the highs and lows. It's literally a roller coaster. Like a situationship is literally a roller coaster. And why are some people so addicted to roller coasters?
And that's exactly. And that was the explanation, really.
Yeah.
So if you find yourself in a relationship like that, where you feel so high from the love, but also you feel so bad about it, then maybe this can help you. This might help you understand yourself a little bit better, where you're coming from, why you feel the need to stay in this relationship that makes you feel bad but makes you feel euphoric at the same time.
It might be best to reflect on your attachment styles. There are a lot of quizzes out there on the internet, and they're relatively accurate. Well, ish, but it gives you at least an idea of where you're sitting on the spectrum.
And if you feel like it's becoming difficult for you to function, then maybe you can also seek out professional help. Maybe they can help give you an alternative perspective that might help you gain some insight on what to do in this situation you're in right now, this situationship that you are in right now, if you are in one right now.
Yeah, don't be afraid to seek out therapists who specialize in like attachment-based types of therapy. Could help
relationship therapy.
Develop a secure attachment with other people and yourself.
Because as we said earlier, you are not bound by your past. You are capable of growth and learning to develop healthier attachment styles and maybe identify healthier people to be with.
So that's all we kind of have for today.
Woohoo.
I hope you like the video. We just love talking about these kinds of things because these are just basically our daily conversations.
Our thoughts in general, our daily conversations, and now we can talk about it with you guys. So give us your thoughts. Maybe share your experiences with us. So maybe we can reflect more on how we can make our content better. Thank you so much for being here.
I hope you guys like and subscribe to our cozy community.
I'm hungry.
Goodbye.
Farewell.